massage therapist, but my specialty is helping women who are in narcissistic and codependent relationships and toxic relationships. I help them figure out how to really stop the pain, how to stop the suffering, how to be authentic, how to stand up for themselves, how to stop being so angry, how to get the angry off of their system. These are all the things that I do. And recently I did a 7-day challenge where I invited women from all over the world. We had over 80 women join us. We're going to do the second one, the next one, the first full week in January. And what we did is we dedicated a week towards getting ourselves on the right track. And as a facilitator of that, those things can be kind of exhausting. While I was doing it, I was so high. It was wonderful. The energy was high, while at the same time, I was juggling all of these other balls. You know, what gets us into trouble, and this is what I learned not only from the challenge, but from my 15 years of being a healing professional, helping women deal with this stuff, I discovered that there's always more going on than even we realize. We did an exercise in a class I had the other day, and we looked at a question somebody had. And we asked the question, what was this person thinking? What is their core problem? And almost everybody in the group started to psychoanalyze what the question was, what had been written. They started to read deeper into it. They started to make connections and have solutions. And in reality, when you listen to thousands of women struggling with the same problems, but all in their own unique, special way, you start to realize that we don't know what anybody else is doing. And we can look at them and we can make assumptions and we can jump to conclusions and we can make projections. But until we stop and slow down and actually find out what's going on and ask some questions and dig a little bit deeper, we don't know. And that's what can make us crazy. What makes us crazy is we look at someone, people will look at me, or they'll look at someone else who is, doing their own thing, musicians or artists or teachers or policemen or women or men or brown or black or white or yellow or anything. We look at them, and instead of saying, I wonder what's going on, what we do naturally, normally as human beings, is we go, what's going on? I'm going to figure it out. And we try to figure it out. And we look at the narcissists or the toxic people or the codependents or the addicts or the whoever they are, and we try to put our brain into their head. And it's just not going to work. You'll make yourself a lot less crazy when you realize we're all in the same boat. We're all people doing the best that we know how in the only way that we know how to do it. But we do it in our unique way. We do it in the way that we've been wired for, nature, or we've been shaped for, nurture, or how we've shaped ourselves. Because many of the ways we behave really aren't our authentic self. Most of the ways that people behave are not their authentic self. Their authentic self is someone who has their head brain, their heart brain, and their gut brain connected. They're in a regulated space. They can hear their own thoughts. Everything in their body is moving in the same direction. And it doesn't mean it's pretty. It doesn't mean that it's not super messy. And it doesn't mean that there aren't conflicts and anger and hurt and wounds and that things don't blow up in your face. But what it does mean is that you're coming into alignment. You're becoming your true self. Because if we're lying, if we're hiding, if we are black and white thinking, if we're people pleasing, if we're disassociating, if we're denying, if we're doing any of those things, that's the small self. That's the self that's the ego. That's the self that's frightened and feels disconnected and angry and hurt and is looking at the past and looking at the future and trying to figure it out and looking at other people and trying to figure themselves out and trapped in our own head, thinking that because we know things about ourselves, we know things about everybody else. And that's just not true, because we're all so super unique. So when we start to think we're alone and we look around and we can't find anybody else who's like us, remember, everybody's like you. Everybody's dealing and struggling and suffering and have wounds. And they all handle it in the way that they handle it. but it's not necessarily their authentic self. It's not necessarily their higher self. And when we can look past the behaviors, past the cover-ups and the sarcasm and the jokes and the things that we do, when we look a little bit deeper, we'll understand why people struggle at Christmas, why suicide goes up, why people are desperate, why they do desperate things. Because we're all dealing with the same thing. We are not alone. We are all in this together. We are interconnected in every way possible. And when we can realize that we are all in the same boat and pause, instead of projecting, instead of assuming, try to be curious, try to ask questions, try to learn more, because I don't know, you don't know, we don't know what someone else's reality is. We have no idea. It's way too complex for us to figure out. So the more that we project, the angrier we'll get. And the more that we assume, the more stressed and frustrated we'll get. So it's time to be curious, realize you're not by yourself, and realize that you don't know what somebody else needs to learn. You don't know where they're at. You don't know what they're dealing with. You don't know. You don't know. And so let's just pause, take some control of ourselves, and try to move forward with dignity and love, because that is the only way that the suffering stops, is when we get past the illusion that we are all individuals responsible for our individual destiny, and put those blinders down, take those glasses off, and really look and see that we are mentally, emotionally, physically, energetically, and otherwise connected to everything else that exists. It all affects us and we affect them. We are not masters of our own destiny. We're people who are in a tiny little paper boat trying to navigate a fast-moving creek. You're not in control of the creek. You're not in control of the other boats. You're hardly in control of your own boat. You're just trying to make sure that you stay in the flow. So I hope you stay in the flow today. I'm looking forward to our 7-day challenge. It is, look up Rita Hickman and Friends 7-day challenge. Type that in the Facebook bar, and come hang out with us the next full week in January, women, and we take the time to start the year off right, on a really good foot, in an important way, with the geniuses and the understanding of the latest mental and emotional health science. We use a lot of not boring science, but the science and the understanding underlies everything that we do. So it's not purposeless, it's not guessing, it's not pulling it out of the air. There's a very specific method to our madness, and madness to our method. So I hope you join us and get some healing work done and love yourself. So I hope you have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you later. And I'll be, if you type in Awaken Your Relationships, you will be able to watch Julie Murphy and me in 7 minutes as we, at the top of the hour, or even just the replay, Awaken Your Relationships. I believe it's at Julie Murphy on Facebook. And you can see what we come up with for the day. I'm looking forward to it. Have a great day, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.